The following story may not be appropriate for all audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. Welcome to Whisperwood Stories. Today, we're going to read another story from Horror Junkie. Let's begin. My friends and I went urban exploring in an abandoned hospital. We made a disturbing discovery. I stared up at the entrance of the old hospital, drinking in its features. Cracks spiderwebbed along the bricks and vines had claimed most of the exterior. It was an oddity against the encroaching forest, a relic of a time long since past. It felt wrong for it to be there, out of place, which only worked to pique my interest even further. "Are we gonna stand here all day, or are we checking this sucker out?" Kyle asked, lightly slapping me on the back.
"Let's go. Don't want to lose too much daylight,"
Maddie interjected, tugging my arm. "As you wish. Ladies first," I replied, extending a hand to the door. Maddie rewarded me with a glare. The interior of the hospital was in an even worse state than the outside. Lights had been smashed out, graffiti coated the walls, and pink insulation hung from the ceiling above. As an avid urbex enthusiast, I was reveling in it. Something about being in a place that humans didn't belong always sent a rush of exhilaration surging through my veins. I lived for the thrill. But after what happened that day, my passion for urban exploring has been snuffed out. We were taking photos of abandoned medical equipment when Kyle brought it up. "Hey, guys," he spoke in a whisper, despite the fact that we were alone.
"Yeah,"
I replied, sensing the tremor in his voice. "Does it feel like we're being followed? I don't know, it might just be me, but something tells me we're not the only ones here."
"Stop. You're trying to prank me, and it's not going to work this time. How gullible do you think I am?"
Maddie retorted, crossing her arms. "Maddie, I promise I'm not joking." Her expression faltered when she realized the severity of Kyle's tone. "You're really not?"
"Jake, is he being serious?"
I sighed. When Maddie got freaked out, it wasn't a good time for anyone. Things had been going smoothly up until that point, and I didn't want to ruin a good thing. "Tell you what, Kyle, if we check out a couple more rooms and your sixth sense is still going haywire, we can leave. Sound good?" Despite their nods of approval, I could feel the shift in the atmosphere. The tension was thicker, solid, as if I could reach out and touch it. Knowing what I know now, I wish we would have left the moment Kyle said something. We continued our search with no further protest from either party. We photographed our findings in silence. That pervasive unease still omnipresent. I kept trying to find something to say, but I couldn't arrange the words properly in my head. After a while, it was Maddie who broke the silence.
"So, who's down to find the morgue?"
she said, as a devilish grin inched across her lips. Kyle and I shot each other a glance. Neither of us wanted to go, but we really didn't have a choice. If we refused, Maddie would call us cowards until the day we died. "Sure, let's do it," Kyle said. He tried to sound confident, but he and I both knew the truth. "All right, but after that, we're leaving." My friends each nodded, and with that, we set off to find the hospital's morgue. It only took us about 10 minutes. As we walked, I tried to discern if I could feel the eyes watching our every move like Kyle had described. At one point, I thought I did feel it. An intense, overwhelming sensation that we weren't alone. I found myself throwing glances behind us every so often, but I didn't voice my concerns. A decision that I regret to this day. Before I knew it, I found myself descending the stairs to the basement. Our flashlight beams danced along the staircase as we went, shedding light into the inky depths below. Once we reached the bottom, there was a long hallway with a set of double doors at the end.
Spooky, isn't it?
Maddie whispered as we continued. Yeah, feels ominous, I said, as a shiver rippled through me. The air was colder down there, lending to the creepy ambiance. We paused once we reached the doors.
Okay, who wants to go first?
Maddie asked, surveying our expressions. I think you should. You suggested it, Kyle retorted, wearing a shit-eating grin. Yep, as I said before, ladies first, I joined in, earning me another glare.
Fine, but if I die, I'm going to come back just to take you with me.
Maddie pushed open the doors and led the charge. Kyle and I followed behind her. Standing in that room sent a chill down my spine. Kyle turned to me, that taunting smirk returning to his lips, and he whispered into my ear, "Let's prank Maddie. You distract her. Meanwhile, I'll climb into one of the freezer racks and make a bunch of noise in there. I bet she'll scream loud enough to wake the dead." I smiled at him. Maddie was never going to forgive us for this. One problem, I muttered. How are you going to close yourself in? I'll figure it out, just...
Nice try, dickheads. I can hear you.
Maddie glowered at us like we were the spawns of Satan. My face flushed with color, and sweat beaded atop my brow. Yeah, we weren't actually gonna go through with it, just an idea, Kyle said, rubbing the back of his neck. She wasn't buying it. A sudden, rattling sound echoed from one of the mortuary chambers that Kyle and I had centered his plot around. It started off quiet, small enough to be dismissed as nothing more than the groan of old metal, but it soon escalated into a loud clanging. We stared at each other, wide-eyed, our faces pale as ghosts. The sound had grown into a deafening pounding. Something was being slammed hard against the inside of the door. It was clear that Kyle's earlier premonition had been spot on. We were not alone in that hospital. We stood, frozen in shock, left to helplessly watch as the door buckled under the weight of blows. Over and over and over again. To my utter horror, the door gave way. For a moment it was silent, the dented metal creaking, barely clinging to its hinges. Then something began crawling out of the unit. Something sinister. A pair of feet emerged from the darkness. The skin was a dark purple, and stitching around the ankles was barely holding together. A dirty, blood-stained hospital gown followed. Then a twin set of patchwork arms. Finally, the thing's head shot out of the dark as it hoisted itself off of the freezer rack. That face will haunt me for the rest of my life. Stitches pieced its mottled skin together. Roughly hewn flesh, sallow and wrong. Its smile was crooked. Too many teeth fighting for space in that twisted grin. And its eyes, they were completely black, devoid of life. devoid of a soul. Kyle suddenly grabbed my arm hard. He ran without a word, Maddie in tow. That gave me the resolve I needed to follow them. The three of us bolted down the hallway, desperate to get away from whatever we had awoken. My heart jackhammered in my chest as I realized that we were being chased. The sound of bare feet slapping against the tile fueled my legs to work harder than they ever had before. Once we reached the stairs, I bounded up them 3 at a time, bolting for the exit the second I reached the top. The thing had been gaining on us in the basement, but once we were reaching the main landing, I couldn't hear those wet, awkward clumps pursuing us any longer. Even so, I didn't let that stop me. I kept running, never once looking back until I burst out the front doors, unlocked my car, and threw myself into the driver's seat. Only then did I allow myself to catch my breath. A second later, Kyle threw open the passenger side door, dove in, and slammed down the lock. He turned to me, his face pale and soaked in sweat. Still trying to catch his breath, he managed to croak out the words that still haunt me to this day. "Jake? Where's Maddie?" My heart plummeted into my chest. She wasn't there. Shall we go back?" I asked, a cold dread blanketing me at the thought. The two of us sat there, staring out the windshield, praying that somehow our friend would explode out of one of those doors and join us. But that didn't happen. We sat there for longer than I'd like to admit, completely silent, desperately grasping for a solution. Eventually, we called the cops. The police searched the entire hospital and combed the surrounding woods, but they didn't find any trace of Maddie or the man who had chased us. Aside from the texts agreeing to meet that day, there was no evidence that Maddie had ever been there in the first place. It was as if she simply poofed out of existence. But Kyle and I knew what really happened. We had abandoned her down there with that monstrosity. We'd put our own safety over hers. We were the reason that she was missing, and we had to live with that. Kyle and I drifted apart in the weeks that followed. Maddie still hadn't been found, and I think the weight of what we'd been through was too heavy for us to come to terms with. When I'd look at Kyle, the crushing reminder of what we'd done, or more aptly, what we'd failed to do, would come flooding back. It eventually reached the point where we would only sporadically check in on one another. That is, until he sent me a strange text one afternoon. "Hey man, I need to talk to you. Not over the phone, face to face. Meet me by the pond, in the park, at 8 tonight." The message caught me off guard. Whatever it was that Kyle needed to tell me, it sounded urgent. As I would come to find out, it was. I found Kyle sitting on a park bench by the pond. It wasn't completely dark yet, but the sun was dipping below the horizon. As I claimed my spot beside him, I noted that he was staring off into the distance. His hair was disheveled, and it appeared as if he hadn't slept in days. "Kyle, are you okay? You look like you've been through the ringer." He turned to me, his bloodshot eyes connecting with mine. "Jake, I'm not okay. I don't think I'll ever be okay again, man. I can't take it." He was getting choked up, and tears began to well in the corners of his eyes. "No, you can't think like that. Everything's gonna be alright. If this is about Maddie, she'll... Kyle turned to me, the stone-cold look in his gaze deterring me from finishing my sentence. You haven't been seeing her, have you? So, it's only me? Fuck. I'm screwed, man. It's over. She's going to come for me, and then she'll use me to get you, and... I grabbed Kyle's shoulders and shook him. He was raving like a lunatic, an asylum patient off his meds. Snap out of it. What are you rambling about? Seeing Maddie? What does that even mean? Kyle looked at me with a cold stare. His wild hair fluttered in the wind as an ominous breeze swept through. This is going to sound insane, but Maddie has been visiting me, or what's left of her. Her mouth is stitched shut, her hair is soaked in blood, and now she's wearing one of those hospital gowns. It got her. She's not alive anymore, Jake. That thing from the hospital, it's using her to get me. And once it does, you'll be next. I couldn't formulate a response. I stared at him, mouth agape, turning over his words in my mind. Could what he had just told me even be possible? That's it. That's all I needed to tell you. Well, and I guess I wanted to say goodbye. I doubt I'll make it much longer, Jay. I'm so scared. Tears openly streamed down his face, and my first instinct was to pull him into a hug. He sobbed while I tried to console him, failing to subdue the tremors that racked his frame. Look, it's going to work out, trust me. You are not going to die. I'll think of a way out of this. We both knew that my words were hollow, yet it felt better than saying nothing at all. Kyle pulled away and wiped his eyes, that foreign look from when I'd first seen him returning to his face. Jake, I really hope you're right. For both our sakes. I called Kyle's mom that night and voiced my concerns. Her son was spiraling, and whether it was due to some entity gunning for his soul or some kind of vivid hallucination, I was determined to get him some help. But my efforts were all in vain. Kyle's body was found 2 days later. He'd eaten a slug from a 12 gauge. The neighbors claimed that they heard screaming, hysterical wails like Kyle was trying to get away from someone or something. And then they reported hearing multiple gunshots, followed by an unwavering silence. No one saw anyone enter or exit the home, leaving all of the witnesses perplexed. The news painted him like a man with a rampant mental condition, a loon who let his untreated delusions frighten him into making the worst decision possible. But I know what Kyle saw was real, because lately I've been seeing her too. She appeared for the first time the night that Kyle died, standing below a street lamp across from my window. His description of her had been deadly accurate. Maddie's eyes were stitched shut, and her arms hung limply by her sides. Her hair glistened with something dark, and the hospital gown she wore had yellow stains blotched across the front. But her smile, there was something sinister behind it, something evil pulling the strings. And I'm afraid that I'm going to find out what that thing is firsthand. 3 days have passed since then. I've started seeing Kyle too. The two of them have been moving progressively closer with each passing day. Last night, they were in my room, They just stared at me, smirking, taunting me. Maddie with her unseeing eyes and grin with too many teeth. Kyle with what was left of his reconstructed face, flesh and bone melded together to form something vaguely human. Now, I realized that they came to deliver a message. My doomsday clock is ticking down, and I only have a few hours left. Because when I awoke this morning, splattered across my bedroom wall in a deep crimson were the words, "Tonight, your soul belongs to me." Thank you for listening to Whisperwood Stories. If you enjoyed, don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe down below. Do you have a story that you'd like me to read here? Consider commenting or sending it to whisperwoodsubmissions@gmail.com. The story in this video was read with the author's permission. Thank you again for listening, and be sure to check out the original Reddit post. Want to support me? Check the link below where you can leave a tip if you wish. And remember, don't let the shadows get too close. Good night.